The world lay in ruins, but humanity was never known to surrender easily. Captain Lena Volkov stood on the ridge, scanning the vast expanse of shattered metal and debris that had once been the pride of the Earth fleet. Twisted beams, fragmented hulls, and the wreckage of ships long fallen to enemy fire littered the barren landscape. To any other species, it would be a graveyard monument to defeat, but to humanity, it was raw material. Behind her, a team of engineers and mechanics moved swiftly. Some were from Earth, some from distant colonies, but all shared a common purpose: survival. The war against the Kithra had taken a heavy toll on every system. Earth's fleet had been decimated, its planet scorched, its people scattered. But humanity had one advantage the Kithra never anticipated: the art of kitbashing. Where the Kithra built slate, perfect warships, humans took what they had and made something new, improvised, rugged, and terrifyingly effective. It was in their DNA. The scrap heaps of war were as much a source of inspiration as they were remnants of loss. "Captain," a voice crackled over the comms, "we've got a power core from the Resolute. It's a mess, but we can't make it work." Lena grinned. "Good, let's get it mounted. That'll give us enough juice to power the main thrusters." She turned her gaze toward the skeletal frame of the Warhound, the makeshift ship being assembled out of the detritus of old battles. Its armor plating came from the wrecked freighters and frigates that had once ferried goods to distant colonies. Its engines were scavenged from fighter crafts and cargo haulers. The weapon systems, a hodgepodge of stolen Kithra tech and repurposed human artillery, were already being welded into place. It was ugly, mismatched, and far from elegant, but it was going to fly. Lena walked down the hill toward the assembly site, her boots crunching over the metallic debris. As she approached, her chief engineer called her. "Met her halfway?" "We've got a problem," he said, wiping grease from his hands. "The hyperdrive from the Celestial Dawn isn't compatible with the Kithra navigation system we're trying to integrate. We're going to need another workaround." Lena's brow furrowed. "What are our options?" Calder shrugged. "We can't scrap the Kithra tech and go fully human, but that'll limit our jump range. Or we can try to splice in some auxiliary control nodes from the Kithra drums we salvaged. It's a long shot, but we've made worse work before." She thought for a moment. "Splice the drums in. We're going to need the range if we're going to hit the Kithra forward base." He gave her a quick nod, already turning back to his crew. "On it, Captain." The sun was setting, casting a dull red hue over the scrapyard. Lena looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere out there, the Kithra were preparing to crush the last remnants of human resistance. They were a cold, calculating species, methodical in their conquest. Their ships were vast, unstoppable behemoths of destruction, designed with precision and overwhelming firepower. But they had one flaw: they underestimated the human spirit. Lena walked through the makeshift base, watching her crew work tirelessly. Welders sent showers of sparks into the air as they fused metal to metal. Techs ran diagnostics on half-broken systems, and soldiers loaded ammunition into the hybrid cannons being mounted on the Warhound's hull. They were exhausted, bruised, and battered, but none of them were broken. 2 days later, the Warhound was ready. It wasn't much to look at. It was a Frankenstein of a warship, with mismatched parts, jagged edges, and scars from battles long past, but it was functional. The engines roared to life, the power core hummed steadily, and the weapons systems blinked online. Lena stood on the bridge, looking out over the expanse of stars. "Status report," she called out. "All systems green," Calder replied from engineering. "The drones are integrated. We've got long-range jump capability." "Weapons are online," added Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. "Ready to fire at your command." Lena nodded, plotted a course for the Kithra base. The crew worked quickly, entering coordinates and preparing for the jump. As the stars began to blur, Lena allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. The Kithra had taken so much from humanity: homes, lives, entire planets, but they could never take away what made them human: the ability to adapt, to take the broken pieces of the past and build something new, something stronger. "We're ready, Captain," said Park. Lena's eyes hardened. "Jump." The Warhound leaped into the void, a patchwork vessel made from the ruins of war, heading straight into the heart of the enemy. Humanity had been knocked down, but they weren't out. They never were, and now they were bringing the fight back. One Kitbashed warship at a time. You said. The transition from jump space was jarring. The stars, once stretched into streaks of light, snapped back into place with an almost physical thud. Captain Lena Volkov gripped the armrests of her command chair as the Warhound dropped out of hyperspace. The dark expanse of the enemy's forward base loomed ahead, an intricate lattice of Kithra structures orbiting a barren moon. The base was massive, more a city in space than a simple outpost. Thousands of ships, each one meticulously designed and bristling with weapons, hung in the void. And now, into this hornet's nest, the Warhound charged like a battered gladiator entering the Colosseum. Lena's heart pounded. They were vastly outgunned, outnumbered, and outclassed. But if they didn't hit the Kithra base now, Earth's last defenses would be crushed within weeks. She glanced at the cobbled-together consoles, the mismatched panels flickering with data. Everything in this ship screamed desperation, but it also screamed hope. Status report, she barked. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced over the tactical display. All weapons systems online, shields at 78% efficiency. There was a pause, then a grunt. Kithra fleet is mobilizing. We've been spotted. Lena's pulse quickened. Calder, how's that power core holding up? In one piece, for now, came Calder's voice through the comms. But don't expect it to stay that way if we take too many hits. We're running on duct tape and a prayer. Then let's make the first punch count. A soft hum built up as the Warhound's weapons powered to full capacity. The forward plasma cannons, a combination of Kithra and human technology, hummed with Levla energy. Lena watched the approaching enemy ships on the tactical screen. The Kithra fleet moved with precise, machine-like efficiency. There was no hesitation, no fear, just code, calculating movements. To them, this was merely another cleanup operation. Focus fire on the lead cruiser, Lena ordered. We take out their command, and we disrupt their formation. Park key in the targeting commands, firing plasma cannons. A brilliant surge of energy shot from the Warhound's forward guns, streaking across the void toward the Kithra cruiser. The energy beam slammed into the cruiser's shields, which flared bright blue as they struggled to absorb the impact. For a moment, the shields held, then they flickered, wavered, and collapsed. Direct hit, Park shouted. The Warhound's makeshift weapons weren't designed for elegance, but they packed a punch. The plasma cannons tore into the cruiser's hull, ripping through armor plating and causing secondary explosions to ripple through its midsection. Within moments, the Kithra command vessel was little more than a drifting wreck, belching fire and debris. The Kithra fleet responded with terrifying speed. Smaller, more agile fighters peeled off from the larger ships, swarming toward the Warhound like a nest of angry hornets. Enemy fighters incoming, Park warned. Bring the point defense systems online, Lena shouted. I want every single gun firing. Turrets along the Warhound's hull roared to life, spraying streams of high-velocity projectiles into the swarm of Kithra fighters. The ship rattled as the first impact struck the shields, flashes of light illuminating the bridge as Kithra energy weapons slammed into their defenses. Shields down to 50%, Park called out. Keep firing, Lena urged, her grip tightening on her armrests. The Warhound shook violently as another barrage of Kithra fire found its mark. Lena could hear the strain in the ship's superstructure, the groaning of metal pushed to its limits, but the crew held steady, determined to make every second count. Suddenly, the lights on the bridge flickered. A deep rumble resonated through the ship. Calder, what's happening? Lena demanded. We've got a coolant leak in the power core, Calder responded, his voice tense, diverting systems to compensate, but we're running on borrowed time. Lena's mind raced. They were too far from their target to make a direct run. The Kithra base was still out of reach, and their ship was rapidly falling apart, but they needed to deliver one decisive blow to cripple the Kithra's advance. She turned to the tactical display, her eyes narrowing on a cluster of energy signatures near the base. Park, what am I looking at there? She asked. pointing to the display. Park leaned in. That's the base's main power relay. It's heavily shielded, but if we could hit it with everything we've got, it would shut down their defenses, Lena finished, a spark of hope igniting, and leave them vulnerable for our backup forces. She stood, her decision made. Helm, bring us around. Park, prepare all weapons. We're going to ram the relay if we have to. The bridge crew exchanged quick glances, but moved with practiced precision. The Warhound heaved as it altered course, engines roaring at full throttle. Kithra fighters swarmed around them, but the ship pressed forward, carving a path through the chaos. The power relay loomed ahead, a towering structure bristling with energy conduits. It was shielded, but Lena wasn't concerned about surviving the impact. This mission wasn't about survival, it was about victory. Calder, I need everything you've got left in the core, Lena shouted. Already on it, Captain, Calder replied, his voice crackling over the comms. Brace for overload. The Warhound's engines surged with newfound power, propelling the ship faster than its battered hull should have allowed. The crew held on as the ship hurled toward the relay, the distance shrinking with every passing second. Fire all weapons, Lena ordered. The plasma cannons erupted one final time, sending beams of energy into the relay's shield. The shield flickered, strained, and then collapsed. The relay was exposed. We're out of time, Park shouted. Impact in 10 seconds. Lena stared at the relay, her heart pounding in her chest. They had come this far. There was no turning back now. Everyone, hold on, she yelled. The Warhound collided with the power relay in a deafening explosion of metal and energy. The impact rocked the entire ship, sending Lena flying from her chair. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered violently before plunging the bridge into darkness. For a few agonizing moments, there was nothing but silence. Then, slowly, the emergency lights flickered on,